All right, so you're thinking of making a move to Marquette, Michigan. That's awesome. Now, you've been searching the internet, you've been looking high and low. What are the pros and cons of moving to Marquette, Michigan? Well, I tell you what, I was born and raised there, and you're wondering, hey, what's the weather like? What's the area like? What are the people like? Are there things to do here? Is there something that I should know about before I make a move there? Maybe it's not a place for me. We're going to cover all that stuff and more. Now, make sure you stay tuned to the end. I got some real doozies out there. But hey, let's get after it right now. Hey, first and foremost, welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. This is Travis Junty with Living in Marquette, Michigan team. I love that you're here. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell to make sure you get notified anytime we put out new content. Hey, look, we get calls days, nights, and weekends from people just like you and absolutely love it. All of my information is down there below. Let's, call, text, email, whatever is best for you. Days, nights, and weekends, we got your back. Now, without further ado, let's get into that content. Hey, look, it is my goal to keep you guys engaged for this whole video because there is so much information packed in there. What I want to do is I'm going to kind of break it up between the pros and the cons. We're going to kind of flip-flop back and forth. I got the most popular thing that brings people to Marquette, Michigan. We're going to save that till the end, so make sure you hang around. First and foremost, we'll start with con number one. We're talking about the housing costs. I remember growing up in Marquette, Michigan, and it was one of those things. We were small town Midwest. We're in the Upper Peninsula. Not many people know about it. Some people think we're Wisconsin. Some people think we're part of Canada. It's interesting, right? It's just nobody knows about Marquette, Michigan. People are starting to find out about it now, especially since 2020. We got the remote travelers. The COVID, the remote work. Don't let that scare you. We're not growing at a crazy rate by any means. I mean, we still have the things that are holding people back, and that's some of the stuff we'll cover here. At one point, you'd be able to move here, and it was, fairly affordable moving into town. Now affordable in a sense, I used to compare affordable to, some of the smaller areas in Michigan, more the remote areas that you find across the Midwest. But Marquette, the pricing has gone up a little bit. You used to be able to kind of move from lower peninsula up to the upper peninsula and really just have a little side money to spend, right? But now with the lack of inventory, it's becoming such a huge issue. People are trying to move into town and it's hard to find houses. If a nice house pops up, it's becoming very competitive and it's hard to get into that house. Like I said, we are a real estate channel. You need to reach out to us. We are the Living in Marquette team, the #1 relocation team for the Upper Peninsula in Marquette, Michigan. You need to reach out to us. We don't have a lot of new construction. There's not a lot of new subdivisions going up. It's so a lot of the houses for sale are your resale houses. And a lot of these houses were built a long time ago, so there's just not a lot of newer development going on, and that's partially because, not a lot of builders want to build up here. They're not making as much money building in Marquette as they are in, say, down towards Detroit or Grand Rapids or down in Green Bay or some of those different areas that are around Marquette. So that's kind of what's halting some of the growth here in Marquette. Quite frankly, I mean, we don't have the streets and the infrastructure to support all that major growth, and a lot of us in Marquette, we don't want to grow that big. I mean, that's the beauty of what we are. And keep in mind, Marquette, we are a lake town. I mean, we're on the big and beautiful Lake Superior. So if you're thinking I want to move to Michigan, I want to move to a lake town, Marquette should be on the top of your list. We have, Traverse City, which is a lot more expensive than Marquette. You have Petoskey and Charlevoix and a lot of those other towns that are down in the Lower Peninsula. But Marquette we're the biggest city in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'm a little biased. I mean, I think it's the most beautiful city in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and probably one of the most beautiful cities in the state of Michigan. And, well, that's why people are moving here. That's why the inventory is having issues. And like I said, I want to kind of flip-flop around. We're going to move right into pro number one. And pro number one is kind of similar what I kind of alluded to a little bit on con number one. And that is that we're not that heavily populated. We are in a remote area. Not a lot of people want to move here because it's a little bit remote. But that's the beauty of it. We're not heavily populated. So if you're looking at the state of Michigan, we have about a third of the landmass in the entire Upper Peninsula, versus Upper Peninsula and Lower Peninsula, which is, the state of Michigan, connected by Mackinac Bridge. But we also have, it's about, 3% of the population. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm not a stats guy, but very small percentage of the population, but we have, a third of the landmass. So we're not that heavily populated. And Marquette is it's a fairly large city. I mean, obviously you have the city, you have the different townships around it. But yeah, I mean, the city as a whole isn't that large. I mean, we're sitting, 20,000 people, 25,000 people, depending on the time of the year. So there's really just not a ton of people in Marquette. So we're really not going to just start booming, and we're not going to just start losing people. It's funny because, I grew up in Marquette, Michigan. I didn't know any better. I just thought that, that's kind of how all municipalities were, all cities were. It's just, there's not a lot of people around. It's just great. I thought, traffic was, just sitting on a stoplight for a couple minutes and then you go, but then you go into these different cities, or maybe you're coming from a big city and you're like, your traffic is 45 minutes to an hour. And you're rushing through traffic to get somewhere. We're living in Marquette. That's not the same. You have a couple of stoplights in town or whatever, and sometimes you run into a little bit of slower traffic or whatever that might be. But it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, maybe you work in Marquette, maybe you live out by Harvey or Nagani or Swimming. That's kind of your commute, right? It's not that big of a deal. It's like 15, 20 minutes depending on where you're at. We don't have the hour commutes. We don't have the 45-minute commutes. So that's, not being heavily populated is a beautiful thing. And swinging back over to con number 2, and this can be a big one depending on kind of what you rely on. It's the access to the rest of the country. Look, we're in a small town, Marquette, Michigan. We don't have any freeways. The closest freeway is down, closer to the bridge or going into Green Bay, into Wisconsin, down that way. We don't have the freeways. We don't have the people in and out. We have a small little airport, right in town, but we don't have a lot of airplanes going out of town. So there's not a lot of departures, not a lot of arrivals. I remember, kind of my college days going to Northern Michigan University there. My college days, we would drive down to Green Bay or drive down to Milwaukee or drive out to Minneapolis or something. It was just crazy. I mean, it's like, it was just, but it was part of it. You would drive down, you would stay the night somewhere, then you would hit the airport in the morning. I mean, that was just kind of what it was. It's, you had 4 or 5 hours to your trip and then you would go from there. And that was obviously because, being college students and, you're kind of living more that frugal lifestyle. You save a little bit of money by driving down. You get a few buddies, you drive down and get a cheaper flight. But like I said, I mean, you can still fly out of Marquette, but prices will be a lot more. You're going to have connecting flights. I mean, our flights out of here, I mean, I don't know what their latest status is, but most of the time they're flying into Chicago, they're flying into Detroit, or they're flying into Minneapolis, and then they go from there. And with those flights and being a small airport, look, you might get stuck. We're in the winter time and maybe there's a big snowstorm. There's no way that they're flying into town. They're going to just, wait out the snowstorm. So maybe you have to rent a car and drive in the town. I've done that before. If you're trying to get out of town, it's the same thing. You might have to drive somewhere, make that last minute change because you just can't get out of town. It's not like the big city, down in Detroit or whatever, and you could go to Flint or go to Lansing or go somewhere else, or maybe they have a bigger crew to take care of the runways or whatever that is. But a lot of times with those smaller regional airports, they just don't have the crew available to sometimes get that airport ready for you. And not only with those airports, there's also a lack of the big city amenities. If you're looking for, we used to have a Best Buy here, but that didn't survive. We do have a Meijer, we do have a Target, we do have some of those things. We have a Walmart, but we don't have your Trader Joe's, we don't have Costco, we don't have Sam's Club. I remember as a kid, we would make trips going down to Sam's Club and down in Green Bay. It was, I don't know what it is, 3.5 hours. I mean, it's just you make your monthly, quarterly, I don't know how often we went there, but you made your trips down there. That's when you did your big shopping, especially if you have a large family like ourselves. We have 6 kids, so a lot of times you got to get out, you got to go to those big wholesale stores to to maybe have some savings there. Maybe you're into the malls, right? We don't really have malls here. We have the it's kind of the, I don't know, the Westwood Mall, but there's really only a couple of stores in there. There's not much there anymore. Well, we have a TJ Maxx now. We didn't have a lot of that stuff growing up. A lot of times people would head out of town to do those things, do a little shopping trips, with your friends or your girlfriends or whatever it is. You head down Green Bay or head over to Duluth or whatever that might be. And the other part is, we do have a large hospital here, but sometimes it's hard to find some of that specialty care. Maybe if you're looking for some knee repair or foot or eyes, or maybe you need a real specialist to take care of some of that stuff. Now I know that's not, it's kind of the same with some other smaller cities as well, but you need to really go somewhere. You go down to Rochester or down to the Mayo Clinic or down to Minneapolis or Detroit or whatever that is, down to Chicago, Milwaukee, to find some of that specialized care. Maybe if you're looking for a second opinion on something, or maybe there was some difficulty with some surgeries or difficulty with birth or whatnot. Sometimes you have to fly down to different hospitals down to Ann Arbor or down somewhere like that. So those are certain things that come up, and it makes a big difference sometimes. All right, so let's pop right into pro number 2. We're on pro number 2 already. And pro number 2 is going to be the people. We're Midwest nice, however you want to say it. Yeah, you betcha. I'll help you out. Or you're shoveling, or you're mowing, or hey, do you need a loaf of bread? Do you need a few eggs, or need some milk, or whatever? It's just the people here are relatively nice. People will help if you ask for help. The crime rate is virtually non-existent here. Obviously, it goes up and it's a little bit higher. As you get closer to the university. I mean, it's not like crime, but it's there's some petty theft, petty crime. But as far as like big crime, it's not like I said, it's almost non-existent. But yeah, it's kind of fun. You're walking by somebody at Walmart, maybe you knew from high school back in the day, or you're walking into a restaurant or store or whatever. People are holding a door for you. Or
are you holding that for someone?
Yeah, there's someone coming. They're about half a block away yet.
You sure he's coming here?
I'd rather be safe than sorry. Oh, sorry.
All good.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Or whatever it is, vice versa, right? I mean, it's just a nice atmosphere. So I mean, if you come from an area that might be more known for kind of doing their own thing, I don't know what big city, what New York or whatever that might be. I mean, it's a big change. It's a culture shock coming to to Marquette, where people are typically a lot nicer, a lot friendlier, a lot more willing to help. It's really got that small town vibe, small town feel. I mean, that's because that's what we are. All right, we're getting closer to the end. Hey, I'd be curious, what are some of your pros and cons about moving or living in Marquette, Michigan? Maybe your current resident. Drop it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe we're missing a pro. Maybe we're missing a con. I just really love to hear your story. Tell me more about it. And like I said, we are the #1 relocation team in Marquette, Michigan. We would love to help you out. Sit down and figure out a strategy, what works best for you. Like I said, all of our information is down in the contact below, down in the description below. Reach out to us. We'll see what we can do to help you out. All right, so let's move on now. Like I said, we're getting to the exciting part. We're getting to the nitty gritty. We're down to the top 1 pro and top 1 con. Con number 3 is the weather. We live in we're in a snow belt. We're in Marquette, Michigan. You got Lake Superior up there to the north. You got Lake Michigan, down-ish to the south there. So we have a lot of snow coming through. So if you're not used to snow, that's something to be aware of. The other beauty of it, right? I mean, it's kind of a pro. We have the 4 seasons, right? So I mean, you have your 4 seasons. You have your summer, your fall, your winter, your spring. But at the same time, a lot of times your falls and springs are relatively short. So like right now it's October, and we've had snow at the beginning of October. We've had sometimes you get your fall colors for maybe a week and end of September, and all of a sudden your snow is falling, and the fall colors are just a little bit different. But it really depends on year to year. So I mean, So our winter season is relatively long. I mean, we're going from, like I said, sometimes in October. So you got October, November, December, January, February, March. That's 6 months at least. Then you got April. Sometimes you get large storms in April. We've had some storms in May. But a lot of times you're not getting rid of snowbanks until you get into that April-May season. So if you head down south, and everybody down in Wisconsin or lower Michigan, they have their green grass, they have their green trees, all that stuff. And you still have, your trees are still barely starting to bud. It's a long season. Now, if you can buckle up for the winter and be good with it, right? I mean, it's not that bad of a thing. You got your snowmobile, maybe you got your skis. There's, like I said, and we'll kind of touch on this, but there's a lot of things to do in the snow. But if you're not really gearing up for the winter, you're not really gonna love it. We have, like I said, we have 6 kids, so a lot of times winter can be interesting. We love it at first. You got your new jackets, you got your new hats, you got your new mittens, you got the new boots. The kids want to get outside. We dress them all up, get them all outside. But then, hey, 5 minutes later, they're coming inside, they're crying, they got snot everywhere. Their hats are missing. You're buying new hats, you're buying new mittens.
What is it?
I can't put my arms
it's just, it gets interesting. You know, they get snow in their boots, you know, half the clothes are missing. You know, it's a challenge sometimes. And then you're like, hey, I'm sick of putting all your clothes on, you know. You tell them to put it on themselves. They go outside, they have one shoe on, one mitten on, and it's just like, oh goodness. So it can be interesting, you know. Sometimes towards the end of the winter, you're like, man, this is done. I'm done with it. So you really have to be prepared for the winter. You really have to embrace it as much as you can, you know. So, and like I said, I mean, if you embrace the winter, you embrace, you're comfortable with a, you know, a more wet spring or a short fall. You know, we do have an absolutely beautiful summer here. You know, kind of that, you know, June, but specifically, you know, July and August are really just excellent seasons here in Marquette, Michigan. And that brings us to the biggest pro, and that's pro number one, and that is a little bit broad, but it's going to be the things to do in Marquette, Michigan. Look, regardless of the season, there is so much to do, so much to see around here. You can't really get bored. You know what? Like I said, we have Lake Superior here. We have small little mountains here. I know some of you in you know, maybe coming from the west, you're like, mountains. Yeah, what's the elevation? What's the vertical drop that you have on your ski hills, right? But you know, we have a lot of that stuff in miniature scale, but we do have fun with it, you know. But like I said, we do have Lake Superior. I mean, that's kind of it's your saltless ocean. You go to the beach, you can't see the other side. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely refreshing any time of the year you decide to dip your toes in there. So I don't know if you're into mountain biking, if you're into skiing, if you're into, you know, kayaking, you're into, you know, road biking, you're into cross-country skiing is another big thing around here. You're into hiking, you're into running, hunting, fishing, you name it. There's so many different things that you can do here, you know. And a lot of people compare it to, you know, Boulder, Colorado. I mean, Boulder, Colorado, obviously you have it's kind of almost like the gateway to the Smoky Mountains, gateway to the Rocky Mountains. You know, that's a beautiful, it's a completely different landscape. But Marquette, you know, we have our own little beauty, right? We have all the hiking. You have the Sugarloaf Mountain. You have your Hogback Mountain. I know Sugarloaf, they've got a whole nother little parking lot because it's become so popular. I remember, you know, as a kid growing up and going there, I mean, it was just one little tiny parking lot and one little run up the hill. You know, so it was simple. But now it's they have a massive parking lot. You know, if you're going along the way, you go up you go up that road up towards Big Bay. I mean, you got some beautiful little flowing hills up there. You know, the Huron Mountains, you know, that whole area. I mean, it's beautiful in the fall, it's beautiful in the summer, whatever that time is. But like I said, if you're into the beaches, you know, you have Wetmore Landing, you have, you know, McCarty's Cove into the city, you have the different little parks all along Lake Superior. I mean, like I said, we drive all along Lake Superior. You can find, you know, many different places that you can jump in and swim, you know. And one thing to be careful of, you know, we are on Lake Superior. There's areas that you can't swim. You know, it's a dangerous area. People have lost their lives around here, so you got to be careful when you're swimming in Lake Superior. There's certain areas that are marked. They should be marked very well. You know, use caution. Do not swim here. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about just swimming in Lake Superior. It's not for the faint of heart. Sometimes you're thinking you're going to go out swimming, and it's not the best idea. I know we were just out at Black Rocks just a couple weeks ago, and we had the great intentions to go swimming. You go out there and it's windy. You know, the waves are crashing. This is big time, right? You know, don't take Lake Superior lightly. I mean, it's got power, and that not only goes with swimming, but it goes with your other lake activities. You know, maybe you're going out in the kayak, or maybe you go down on the boats to go fishing or something. You know, especially if you're going on the kayak, and let's say you're going around what's popular, going around you know, Presque Isle. You know, people are cruising around the kayaks, going around the little, I guess not really island, but you know, the peninsula more or less. But you got to be careful because, you know, the water on one side might be a little different than water on the other side. You really have to pay attention to what the wave condition is. Sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. This isn't a safety talk. Let's get back into the fun zone. But anyways, like I said, you know, mountain biking. I mean, this is I remember growing up. I mean, it was a mountain bike mecca then, but now it's even better. I mean, they're developing these trails. Seems like every year they're putting out new trails. They have, you know, it's the Nequamanon Ski Network, or, you know, Bike Ski Network, whatever. They have Marquette Mountain. They have the ski lifts going, you know, for mountain biking on several days during the summer. Different areas. Maybe you want to bike up by Harlow Lake or Hogback or somewhere along those areas. I mean, mountain biking it's an all season things. You know, you can have your normal mountain bike tires. You got your big fat tires that'll handle the snow. So it's really, like I said, it's becoming a full season thing. You know, now they have the campground. You know, the campground down by Marquette Mountain. They got the Rippling River Resort. You know, so you're connecting to the ski trails. You're connecting to the bike trails. They have the hot tub down at the down there by the lodge. I mean, this is awesome area, awesome growth, awesome thing for the community. You know, if you're looking to go fishing, I mean, there's all kinds of excellent. If obviously you got the big lake, you got Lake Superior, you can go fishing in there. But there's plenty of rivers around the area that are, you know, world class for trout fishing. Right? Get out and get some brook trout or rainbow trout or whatever that might be. You know, we've gone up there. We've been up there many times. You know, fishing and you know, catching fish and loving our time with the kids and doing that kind of thing. You know, you have the waterfalls. I mean, there's all kinds of different waterfalls. You know, it seems like there's places that you go maybe you didn't know about initially, and it's just the more you spend time there, the more you go out and explore, the more you're finding, you know, all the beautiful waterfalls, the beautiful little hiking trails. You know, if you're into hunting, right, you got there's all kinds of different public land that you can go out and hunt and do whatever you need to do, whether it's you know, bird or deer or whatever it is, right? I kind of feel like I could go on and on, but hey, I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me for this pros and cons of living in Marquette, Michigan. You know, I love making these videos, but like I said, if you're looking to make a move to Marquette, Michigan, you need to reach out to our team living in Marquette, Michigan. I'm Travis Junty. All of our information is down in the description below. Until next time, until the next video, we'll see ya.